Hey KU football fans, welcome to a post-game edition of KU Sports Extra. Joined by Tom Keegan, we just watched the Kansas Jayhawks in their Big 12 opener fall to West Virginia, 56-34. Seemed kind of close early in the fourth quarter, and it just seemed like a weird game because I was like, it's never going to get to that point, and then it did, and then really quickly it was all West Virginia to close it out. Right,
this was a case of more clearly than ever that Kansas has a better offense than last year, and more clear than ever they have a worse defense than last year. So Khalil Herbert, though, just carried the day, ruled the day. Most yards rushing, 291 since Tony Sands against Missouri, 396. Then a record, although not a record anymore. We saw the current record.
Yeah, I was convinced that at some point they were gonna start going to Taylor Martin more, or that Khalil Herbert would just start wearing down, but it never happened. It was like they realized, hey, this guy actually is our featured back, which he showed last week at Ohio,
right?
And then he just exploded this week. So it was one of the few positives that Khalil Herbert played so well, and also just kind of ran behind that new offensive line that kind of debuted a week earlier, and that's a positive sign for this team in a loss that I know that they're disappointed by the margin.
Yeah, the offensive line is definitely developing, and Beatty used that word today, developing. And why didn't we see more of Khalil Herbert in the first 2 weeks of the season? They didn't like his practice habits. They called him out in practice, right, Benton?
Yeah.
And he's responded by having two terrific performances in a row. Today, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, and Akeem Adeniji said that he thinks it's just confidence. You know, Khalil Herbert finally got those opportunities, those carries at Ohio. He really performed well there, and then it just kind of clicked with him. All right, you know, this is something I can do. I'm confident in myself, and I mean, it really showed today. Not as good of an afternoon for Peyton Bender. Really slow start for him, especially, and then there were a couple of picks. The one that he tried to hit Steven Sims quick in the flat and just totally overthrew him. Steven Sims, second week in a row, tries to make a play on a ball and it ends up bouncing in the other team's hands. This one was a pick six though, so pretty crucial.
And the other one, Booker, got rocked so hard that the ball popped out. Can't really blame that on Bender. Bender had, as you say, a bad start, but he did do some good things, man. That pass he threw to Steven Sims along the left sideline for 64 yards, hit him right in stride, and that's after looking off the first couple of targets. So, you know, I'm not down on Bender. I think that was a really bad interception, but I'm not down on him.
And probably the biggest issue as always is the defense. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not as good as it was last year, and now they have an idle week coming up to kind of get after it on that part of the ball and try to figure out more ways to keep fixing things and try to get guys techniques where they need to be so there aren't so many breakdowns. And I mean, I guess it's as good a time as any to address that during a bye week, right?
Right, and all the other little sloppy things like the offensive line's penalties. The offensive line certainly did a better job today. They're a pretty good run-blocking team, it looks like, even before this week. But they have to cut down on their penalties, and you know, it's a function of inexperience and discipline. So time to clean up some stuff during the bye week. And, you know, a lot of programs use that first week to just self-study, which I think, and work on fundamentals, which I think you'll see a lot from Kansas. And then they get to work on trying to figure out how to slow the always tough Texas Tech passing game. And that's the #1 vulnerability for this Kansas team. And I think Dorrance Armstrong can use these 2 weeks to maybe give his hamstring some rest. He hurt that in camp, and that may not be 100% yet.
And if KU fans are feeling down about the outcome today, you can always go back and look at those renderings of what Memorial Stadium might look like in 5 or 6 years and feel a little bit better about things. Thanks for joining us for a KU Sports Extra.